Can you discuss blood donation and why you advise against it?
I do not advise against blood donations. Blood donations are a very noble thing, and they do help your local community. They really do. If nobody donated blood, a lot more people would die for no reason. Okay. Most traumatic events that occur, including car accidents, where people rupture a spleen or other organs, people usually die from hypovolemic shock resulting in blood loss. And that is most traumatic, with the exception of head trauma. Most traumatic injuries that lead to death as a result of blood loss. So blood donations are certainly not something that I will ever say to avoid. Again, taken out of context, I may have told people who said, I'm going to donate blood because my hematocrit is 53. I may have said, you don't need to donate blood. There's a very big difference between saying, don't do blood donations and don't donate for the wrong reason. So now that we've covered that aspect, if you feel that you need to donate blood because your hemoglobin or hematocrit just passed the range on the lab that you used, that is the wrong approach. There are people and there are times and there are comorbidities that will play a risk reward. There are downsides to donating blood. Okay, you do lose a lot. Look, we have blood for a reason. Our body needs our blood. Okay, spilling our blood isn't what nature designed for us. If it did, men would menstruate, and we don't. We should keep our blood. With that said, when there are risk factors that do one of two things, or both, but either or, A, jeopardize a cardiac or ischemic event for a patient, not based alone on the hematocrit numbers, but combined with comorbidities that exist, genetic factors, other medications, coagulants, plaque, dyslipidemia, diabetes, hypertension, etc., then it is in the patient's best interest to forego the potential risk of the donation for the benefit of not having a potential increased risk in some of these events. Again, not as a standalone based on what I said, but with the comorbidities I mentioned. And that is individual to that patient, once again, not a blanket statement. So that is something to consider. When it comes to donating blood just because your number just jumped over the thing, oftentimes you have to remember, and this is a conundrum that we deal with daily. Healthcare providers are scrutinized. They have a license to protect. There's what's called standards of care, and those standards of care are defined. Some of them are defined by medical boards, nursing boards, etc. Some of them are defined by peers, and some of them are defined by journal articles and case studies and clinical trials. And those, and some of them are actually hospital policies. And if you have affiliations in some hospitals, or you're part of an association, professional association, you have to have some sort of a backup too. Everything is about articulating why something was done. This is why we document everything we do. And if you can't articulate a specific, credible, and reliable source, and unfortunately, YouTube is not a credible and reliable source. Facebook is not a credible and reliable source. We can say what we say, but we'll back it up with evidence, because when the government comes after your license, they're going to want what they consider to be a credible and reliable source. And you better have that journal article, and you better have those papers that support your findings. And if the industry standard tells you you do ABC, and you say, but I went on YouTube and I explained why ABC is wrong and XYZ is right, you're going to lose your license. So oftentimes a provider will bite their lip and they will tell you, I need you to do this so that I can continue to legally treat you and prescribe to you, because I have a license to protect. And if you don't do this, and I have to show my documentation on why you went against orders when I advised you according to standards of care, I'm going to get suspended. So you have to understand, if it's not detrimental to your health, and donating blood is not something that's going to harm you. Sometimes, and we have lifted that threshold significantly because we dread doing it. I'm not going to tell a guy at 52 hematocrit to donate, but when a guy gets to 57, 58, do I think that he needs to? Not necessarily, unless he has comorbidities. Do we have to cover our asses if somebody came in and said, why is this patient, or God forbid, something did happen that is unrelated, What do you think is going to happen when you show up at that emergency room and they look at your labs and say, oh, you're on testosterone, your hematocrit's 57. That's why you had a heart attack, or that's why you had a stroke. We can argue all we want, but this is what they're going to blame. And guess whose name is on that prescription? Okay. So you have to understand, guys, the litigious side of medicine is annoying, but it's part of the game that we have to abide by.
Yeah.
And we have to follow the guidelines within the countries that we prescribe in. And at the same time, we have to juggle that act with taking care of our patient correctly. We will never harm the patient, ever, for the sake of following the guideline. I would rather tell the patient, we cannot treat you because I don't agree with this guideline. And if I follow the guideline, you will be harmed. If tomorrow the guideline said every testosterone patient must receive an astrazole, we will stop prescribing testosterone. And I will lock the door. Okay? But if it says, once you hit a particular number that is extreme by their standards, you must advise to donate blood and they must come back a little lower on the next lab. We're just keeping you in the game.
Yeah.
Not by our own desire, we're following guidelines. So it's important that people understand the distinction.